I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I struggle with mental health, and my name is Joe.
And my name is Misha. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus, and I struggle with childhood trauma, with mental health issues and addiction.
Today we want to talk a little bit about the colors of our mental health cards. So Misha, tell us what are the colors of mental health?
A couple of years ago, I was working on my own mental health and just so happened to run across an article where someone was discussing the traffic lights and how it's similar to the red, green, and yellow. And these colors can be attached to or can be shared with how your mental health looks like, whether you are stable or whether you are starting to struggle or whether you are in a crisis. So the colors of the mental health cards come from that theory of traffic lights and being able to help someone explain how they feel and asking somebody how they feel.
Why do you think that it's helpful to know your own color?
When you know your own color, when you know your own temperature, so to speak, especially in your recovery, it first helps you to be honest about where you are, and it gives you a voice. These cards, I think, are important because sometimes we don't know how to put it in our own words, and if you can't really explain how you're feeling, you can use the card to hand to somebody.
You know, for me, it helps me a lot to give myself grace when I know I'm in a yellow or a red state. But how does it help to relate to other people when you're using the card? Like, would you use that with sponsor, accountability partner, or your family? Like, who else would you include in that?
I would say yes to all of those people. When we first started using these cards at Summit, I think is when we introduced them last year, and we have heard stories about people taking the cards with them to work. So for co-workers that they know that they struggle, even with their teams, you know, we were right in the middle of a pandemic, and it helped people to be able to just start having conversations about how they felt. I know my husband, who is not in recovery with me, but he is familiar with the card and he knows the conversation of, so what color are you? And it speaks louder sometimes than words do. Helps you.
I think sometimes when people say, "How you doing today?" it's easy to say, "Well, I'm fine." But when they say, "What color are you?" then I know that they're sincere. They really want to know where I'm at, and it just is a gentler way to ask that. Is there a right or wrong way to use the cards?
No, I think the cards. They're just a stepping stone. I think that when you're in a relationship with somebody and you're discussing your mental health anyway, you're already giving somebody permission to step into your space. So how you learn to discuss that with the person, whether it's your sponsor or accountability partners or family, using it the best way that you can works great.
So when someone is yellow, on the back of the card it says, "What is your plan when you're yellow?" But when they're yellow or red, what should we do different than when we're green?
Well, I think the important thing is that your team has this card and you've had a conversation already. Because I think by the time you get to your yellow or red, because you're already in a state of not being able to explain it, that the people who love you most should have that conversation when you're green, rather than waiting until you're yellow or grello. Sometimes we say grello in between green and yellow.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing the cards with us and with Celebrate Recovery.
And I hope that this will give your Celebrate Recovery just a different way of bringing up and discussing mental health and giving you a voice.